Hello, everybody. Hello. This is today's book. It is our fifth Advent book. It's one of the books over the weekend. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it now. It's not a Christmas book as such, but it's got a snowy, wintry theme. It's called The Great Explorer. Here we go. The Great Explorer by Chris Judge. Tom's dad was a famous explorer. One morning, when Tom went down to breakfast, he was shocked to see a picture of his dad on the front of the morning paper. The news: famous explorer is lost in North Pole. His dad had got lost while exploring the North Pole. Tom resolved there and then to go and rescue him. Good for Tom. First, he studied his globe of the world and found the North Pole. Then he bought a map so he could find his way there. Packed his bag and set off on his first adventure. And you can see all the things he's got in his backpack: saucepan, sleeping bag, fishing rod, food, cup, tent, compass, flares, matches, pick, torch and some binoculars. Casting off, he set out into the big blue ocean. After sailing for many weeks, Tom knew he was getting to the North Pole when gigantic icebergs appeared on the horizon. Look how big they are. Ice mountains they are, aren't they? Amazing. And you can see a pod of killer whales. That's what you call a group of killer whales. It's called a pod. As he sailed on, he saw lots of beautiful shapes in the ice. It was the most magical place he'd ever seen. But soon the ice got thicker and thicker, until eventually the boat ran aground on the ice. Fortunately, Tom had a hot air balloon on board, as you do. He pumped it full of hot air and soon it was ready to take off. He unhitched the rope and off it went. As night fell, the spectacular northern lights lit up the sky. Tom was amazed. And if you can remember, Zara's artwork from the week before last in Celebration Assembly had the northern lights in it. Aren't they amazing? But the balloon sailed too high and was hit by a passing satellite. The balloon plummeted downwards. "Ah!" Tom screamed with fright. Luckily, he had a parachute with him. Quickly, he put it on and jumped out. He's got everything. Phew, that was a close shave, he thought, as the balloon crashed to the ground. But just at that moment, he landed on top of a very dangerous cliff. Undaunted, he sat on his coil of rope and slid all the way down. But just as he reached the bottom, he skidded into... What did he skid into? A giant walrus. Tom ran away as fast as he could until he reached a dangerous river of broken ice. So he jumped, hopped, skipped, bounded and leapt. It's good, isn't it? As Tom continued his journey, it started to snow heavily. The blizzard grew wilder still, so he decided to pitch his tent. But the wind was too strong and his tent blew away. Fortunately, he spotted a small cave. He crept inside and was just settling down to have a rest when a giant polar bear leapt out. Tom ran away as fast as he could. It was getting dark, so he decided to build an igloo to shelter in. He built a fire to cook his dinner and laid out his sleeping bag for the night. Tom rose early the next morning to find it had stopped snowing. He dug a hole in the ice to catch some fish for breakfast before setting out for the day. And you can see all the creatures that live under the ice. Finally, just as the sun was setting, Tom spotted a familiar tent on the horizon. "Dad!" he shouted as he ran as fast as he could towards it. His dad was so happy to see him. He'd broken his foot when he'd fell from a cliff, and he'd been unable to let his rescuers know where he was. Tom took a flare from his bag and signalled for help. Luckily, it was spotted by a rescue helicopter that was in the area, and they were soon hoisted to safety. As they headed for home, Tom told his dad about the great adventures that he'd had on the way to rescue him. "We will call you the Great Explorer from now on," said his dad proudly when they were safely home. "I wonder where our next adventure will take us." And that's the end of The Great Explorer by Chris Judge. I wonder if you know any other books by Chris Judge. I know that in year one, they use some books by Chris Judge when they are learning. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.